Hey everyone, welcome to this week's guitar lesson. This week is going to be a little bit different, but I'm going to tell you how you can get better at guitar quicker. I'm not going to make you wait until the end of the video for this, I'm just going to tell you now. The best way to get quicker at guitar is to practice effectively. So what does practice effectively mean? Well, essentially what we're going to do is we're going to analyze our skills and where our weaknesses are, and then we're going to build some targets from this, and then we're going to create a practice routine. So I'm going to go with you step by step on how to create your targets, create your practice routine, and then you'll be getting better at guitar really quick. Just a quick heads up that I've created a Patreon page. So on this Patreon page, you can pay monthly for rewards such as voting on what guitar lessons you want and also group guitar lessons. So go check it out. I'll leave a link in the comments below. So let's delve into practicing. So first off, we need to set some targets. Now targets can be technique related, they can be theory related, or really just anything to do with musicianship. As an example, one of my targets was that I was going to play a song without looking at the fretboard, because I found that when I was playing a live gig, I was looking at my fretboard rather than the faces in the audience and judging whether they're actually enjoying it or not. Okay, so there are 4 steps to setting a target. 1, the actual target itself. So for this guitar lesson, we're going to do to learn the minor pentatonic pattern 1. Next step is how we're going to measure that we've succeeded with this. For a scale pattern, we want to learn it and we also want to memorize it. So once we've memorized it and are able to play it up and down on the neck, then we know that we have reached this target. But how do we do that? So we have the internet and there is so much resources out there and there's so many YouTube videos. What you'll need to do is you'll need to look for the minor pentatonic pattern 1 and there'll be about 5 million gazillion results telling you what the pattern is. We're going to go through the pattern now. So it's 3 and 6 on the low E, then 3rd and 5th fret on the A, 3, 5 on the D, 3, 5 on the G, 3, 6 on the B, and then 3, 6 on the high E. Okay, so we've got our pattern, we've played it on the neck, so we know how we're going to proceed to this. So the final step is that we need to set a date of when we want to achieve this target. Now this is going to differ from person to person. I can play guitar for a couple of hours a day, but someone else may not be able to play that much. Okay, you just need to bear this in mind when you set your target. So for this example, we're just going to set that in a week's time, we're going to learn and memorize the pattern 1 of the minor pentatonic. So we set a date of when we want to achieve the target for accountability. If we didn't set a date, then it would probably be much harder because we'd pull it off and off like we do with like household chores and things like that. Okay, so if we set that 2 weeks, then we know in 2 weeks time we need to be able to play this. Okay, so we have the 4 steps of our target. Next we need to practice something called a practice routine. So a practice routine is essentially what we're going to practice each day. So each day is going to follow roughly the same schedule. We're going to do a 10-minute warm-up, we're going to do 30 to 35 minutes of the main target practice, and then we're going to spend maybe 10 or 15 minutes just having fun on guitar. Okay, so for a warm-up we might do this. So for the Monday warm-up we're going to go 1, 3, 2, 4 on each of the string. We're going to do this for 10 minutes at different BPMs, make sure we're warmed up. And then we're going to move on to the bulk of the practice. So for our minor pentatonic 1, what we're going to do is we're going to maybe look it up, find what the pattern is, and then we're going to learn how to play it on the actual guitar neck. And then the very last 10 to 15 minutes, we're just going to have fun on guitar. It's really important that even though we're making a practice routine and we're setting targets and we're scheduling things, we still want to have fun on guitar. Okay, so I always build in a little bit of time at the end of the hour to just have fun and do whatever I want essentially. So that would be an example of the first day, so say Monday. So for Tuesday, it would follow the same kind of structure. We would do a warm-up, but then our main practice would perhaps be meeting another target, say learning all the chords in G major. Okay, so from our targets, we already know how we're going to do this. We would maybe look up information on what chords are in G major, how to play them, or different ways to play them. So that half an hour would be dedicated to that. and then again you'd have that 10-15 minutes to just enjoy and have fun on guitar. Alternatively, you could perhaps implement what you've learned. So maybe if you've learned, oh, there's a G major and an A minor in the key of G major, I'm just going to spend some time going between the two chords. Perhaps speed it up. So this would carry on throughout the week. So each day you would work at different targets, or even some days you would repeat again. Okay, so an example of this would be that on the Monday we're concentrating on the minor pentatonic pattern 1. Then perhaps on Saturday we revisit it again and just make sure that we can now memorize it. If it's something that you feel you need to practice often, then you could even practice it maybe 3 out of the 7 days in a week. It's really flexible on how you learn and also what you want to learn. Learning the minor pentatonic pattern 1 is easier than perhaps learning how to effectively tap. Okay, that's going to need more time and it's going to need more specific practice. So our 2 weeks is up and we've got our target of our minor pentatonic pattern 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to play through it. Hopefully we've memorized it. So once we've memorized it and we don't need to look at a image of where we need to put our fingers, then we know that we have now reached the target. What I recommend you do is record yourself at certain points. Now this is really important to track your progress. So an example of this would be on the Monday when we first start looking at the minor pentatonic pattern 1, we'll just set our phone up, press record, and we'll record ourselves going through the pattern. Okay, obviously it will be a bit slower for that if you don't know the pattern. But then what we can do is when we practice it again on the Saturday, we can then record ourselves again and just look at the 2 videos and see how we're progressing. Perhaps there's a couple of strings where we're not quite moving our fingers correctly, so we can look at that and then see where we need to improve. And then when it comes up to the 2 weeks, we can record ourselves again and hopefully we will play through the scale perfectly and we have memorized it. Then we have 3 videos that show our progress learning this pattern. Now some of these targets you may even reach quicker, in which case that's great. You don't need to wait 2 weeks if you can learn it in a week. Once you've learned it in a week, you tick it off and maybe you could add to the target. So you could say, now I know the pattern, I'm going to apply this to a backing track. So you'll load up a YouTube backing track in G minor, okay, and you'll be maybe doing some improvisation using the scale pattern. Okay, so we're essentially building off our first target and we're making another target and just gradually advancing our skill and knowledge. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. It's something that's really worthwhile doing. I'm going to leave a Google Drive in the comments below as well. If you click on that, there'll be some templates that you can use. Hope it makes it easier for you to set your targets and then also set your practice routine. What I want to end on is that the most important thing with guitar is just having fun, and you can still practice effectively and have fun playing guitar at the same time. And also you'll be able to look back in 6 months and then you'll see what your progress has been. So that's all for me. I hope you enjoyed this week's lesson and I will see you next week.